Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. On today's episode of Conversations, I have the pleasure to interview a woman whose company's name is the most fitting description of all time. She is fast-paced, has a larger-than-life personality, very intense, but at the same time, kind, smart, and definitely fun. Total Chaos Fabrications owner, Nicole Pitell. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
It's so good to talk to you. We talked a little bit on the phone, a couple of weeks ago, and just shortly after the Rebel, but how were your holidays?
Our holidays were mellow. We shut down the company for 2 weeks every year. The team works really hard. We grind long days. We work 4/10s here at Total Chaos. So every Christmas, I shut the company down for 2 weeks and just Matt and I had a staycation. We stayed home and did some local riding, and Matt hunted. But a lot of the crew traveled and saw family. One gentleman went to Costa Rica. So, yeah, good stuff. Just something that I find I want to do Total Chaos a little different than everybody else in this industry. And I think locking the doors and letting everybody turn it off for a couple weeks is something that's super healthy for mind, body, and spirit.
Right. That makes total sense. It really does. And being that you're the owner with your husband, Matt, that you can do that.
Yeah, it's our corporate America, like we like to say around here.
Perfect. So let's start at the very beginning. And where were you born and raised?
I am born and raised in Southern California. Birth certificate name's Westminster. But I grew up in a small town called Lake Elsinore, California.
Right.
It's bred a lot of high-profile fabricators and moto riders in the 80s and the 90s for sure. And I moved to Corona right out of high school, and I've been planted in Corona, California ever since.
Okay. Our daughter Hallie went to school there for performing arts in Corona. Anyway.
Yeah, they've got a big performing arts school.
Yeah, they do. What were those early years like for you, family-wise? I mean, did you guys do a lot of outdoor stuff, or what was the family into?
You know, a lot of people don't actually know this about me, but I have never met my dad. So I was raised by my grandma and my grandpa, and my mom and I rented a room from them. So I was kind of taken care of by a deaf great-grandma and my grandma and my grandpa. And they bought 5 acres in Lake Elsinore. And in order to keep me busy and out of the house, I remember I was in elementary school, and my mom bought me an ATC, which then led to a CR65 and then a Honda 85. So I kind of remember growing up on 2 wheels. They really pushed me. I raced BMX as a kid. So my first passion and love is 2-wheel sports, bicycle-related stuff. and moto. And then I played travel soccer, travel softball, lettered, in high school, tried the team sports, but it really wasn't my thing.
Right.
I'm more of a self-motivated, independent style athlete. So I went back to motorcycles when I could afford one in college, and that's about when I meet Matt. And Matt was the one that actually got me into the sport of off-road racing. My mom, I had bought a 1989 Toyota truck with a trail disaster kit. Good old Trailmaster. I thought I was Ivan Stewart. We proved those drop-down brackets to not be worthy of Nicole's skinny pedal. But yeah, so I bought a truck for my first vehicle, and I think that kind of planted me in the sport, and then met Matt, and kind of the rest is history. I fell in love with it.
Right. And so those early years, you were brought up kind of tomboyish. It sounds like.
100%.
Right.
100%. In an era where it wasn't accepted, to be totally honest. I was picked on a lot through elementary school, but, because I was always like one of the first people to get picked on the kickball team because I had an awesome right leg from playing soccer, and you just kind of got used to it. It's one thing I try to inspire young women today. Like, there's always going to be people that don't agree with your decisions or agree with your choices. As long as you're doing what you love, keep doing it. At the end of the day, it's what makes each of us individually happy is what's going to elevate you and take you to the next level.
Right. Absolutely. And so what kind of student were you? Were you one of those that was always looking out the window wanting to get outside, or were you pretty studious?
I sucked until I actually transferred to upper division in college, and I made sure it was on my dime and my time, and it wasn't until I really got to college that I started to see A's. I drew a lot in the books. I was constantly thinking about PE, getting on my bicycle after school, but no, I didn't. ADD wasn't something that was really talked about in the 80s and early 90s, and I never realized why I couldn't retain certain things, everything that I read, basically. So I think I got a tick of ADD, but I really wasn't studious until upper division college years.
Okay, fair enough. And so I take it that like drama or band or anything like that was not on your wheelhouse?
Oh, dude, I tried the clarinet. I sucked so bad at that. We lasted like 2 or 3 weeks, and we had to return the rental musical instrument.
I get it.
I got an A for effort on trying, though. No, I mean, my family, they always supported me in anything I wanted to do. My grandma always wanted me to be a tennis player, and that just, I needed jump. I wanted to jump. I wanted to go fast. I wanted to catch air. I was constantly crashing. I remember one year as a kid, I went down on one elbow 3 times, and the scab never healed. And my family was like, "You can't keep crashing on this elbow. Like you're mauling your body. You're maiming yourself." And I'm like, "No big deal, man." Those are like the memories that I have. We built some jumps in the backyard, and all the local boys would come over, and we'd be jumping, and we had a pool. Everybody would swim at our house, and just, yeah. I mean, I never played video games, and I was always outside.
Nice. Okay. That's fitting then for the rest of your life, at least as far as I know. But we'll get into that right now. So let's talk about college. We know that that high school, you were pretty independent and were more interested in, like a lot of us, in getting outside and getting in the dirt, going fast, jumping, things like that. You said, what drove you to college?
I got a job at a Vans shoe store right out of high school, and I enrolled in community college. I took 2 classes and failed one. And I looked at myself in the mirror one morning and said, "You are really going nowhere." And, being independently motivated, it was like, okay, this is time. I got a job at a local Toyota dealership as the receptionist. And I realized that I had worked at Stater Brothers. I had a job at Toyota. I liked the car aspect, but I absolutely could not handle the dealership life. But I met a lot of people, and one person that kind of mentored me was the controller at Bud Gordon's dealership, Quality Toyota, and I took a liking to accounting, managerial and financial accounting. My second semester in college, I had an instructor that really captured. I was like, okay, I think business might be a path that would be fitting for me. So I complete community college, and I decided to transfer to upper division. I transferred to Cal Poly Pomona, and I majored in business administration with a concentration in sports marketing. My goal was to get into the motocross industry. Matt and I were dabbling, working out of a garage, and the name Total Chaos, like doing a startup. Matt had already gone on his own my junior year of college, and I was helping him, but the plan was never for me to actually become the director of operations at Total Chaos Fabrication. It was kind of like destiny, and the way the chips fell and things just started to click, and I never looked for a job.
Wow. Okay. So how did you meet Matt? How did that come about?
My senior year in high school, because I had that Toyota, which, by the way, I want noted for the record, I suck in driving in mud. I suck, plain English. And the first week I had the truck, I ran out of talent up at a place called Bear Creek, which was local where we grew up, Wildemar riding trails, and went through a mud puddle, it hydroplaned, and went up on its side. So I rolled my truck on its side within the first 7 days of owning it. My mom wanted to kill me, absolutely kill me. The joke now is that was the start of my future career. But I had that truck, and there was a girl in my senior psychology class named Jill, and she was dating an older dude that was racing Score Desert Racing at the time. And the company was Slam Jam Racing. Anybody that's been around since the 90s, that might ring a bell. He raced a Toyota, and Matt was one of his chase guys. And Jill was like, hey, Scott can get you a discount on tires. So I gave Scott some money to get me some BF Goodrich tires. And I went over to Scott's house one day on my way home from the beach, and Matt was in the driveway. And I happened to be in a bathing suit, tops and board shorts, kind of walking into Scott's house. And he's like, hey, you want to go to a desert race? And I kind of, he's laying under this car, and I'm like, God, you're old. He wasn't that old. He's only 4.5 years older than me. But when you're in your late teens,
right.
That was old. So that's pretty much the story of like the first time I connect with Matt. He invited me to a desert race. And I actually stood him up. I can say that publicly because we still joke about it. But basically, Jill kind of got me connected with Matt, and then I ran into him again a couple months later, and there was something really, he's a real quiet, kind of introverted guy, and I'm super outgoing. So that was attractive to me. Like, man, what makes this dude tick? Like, he doesn't care about partying. He's super focused on this truck thing. And we just started hanging out, and hanging out meant handing him 14 millimeter wrenches in the garage and learning about suspension, to be honest, because that's where he spent all of his time. So Matt left Slam Jam Racing and decided to start his own race team that was named Total Chaos Racing, which is where Total Chaos Fabrication comes from. And it was kind of like a group of the younger guys from Scott's team chose to follow Matt. And anyone that's been in desert racing or in any divorce, you know how that goes. So there was this rivalry now between Slam Jam and Total Chaos Racing. It's funny to relive that era, and to go back and kind of revisit it, because in the very beginning, we were just early 20-year-old kids chasing dreams and wanting to go race trucks. That's truly how this company started.
And that's the way it should. It's out of the passion.
100%. To this day, I wake up motivated every morning without an alarm clock. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning, actually working on a Rebel Rally pre-run article that we're working on. And yeah, I love what I do. We all love it here. Everyone at Total Chaos, we're here for the Stoke of the sport still. And I think that that's something that's invaluable with this team that we assembled and created.
So with you and Matt and going out to the desert racing, he started a business. How long did it take for you guys to get married?
Oh, that's you want it all. So this is another, I think it's important for people to just know how I tick.
Okay.
Because some people say I'm crazy. I think I'm pretty normal. We were together, and a lot of his family said that we would not have a healthy marriage to work.
I've heard that.
And for some people, it's absolutely a difficult thing to do. But I spend every day with my best friend and have built a career. I've built a career for others. It's amazing. We're truly living the dream of two kids, aspiring to just be our own bosses. But we got married on Friday the 13th, 2007. And it was a shotgun wedding because we'd been together 13 years.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, it's not broken, don't fix it. Kind of, everybody, again, I still had those thoughts that everybody said, it changes when you get married. No, nothing changed for us. Honestly, at that point in time, it was just a piece of paper. We had already been through any actions of turbulence in a relationship.
Right. And when you're working together, living together, playing together, that 24/7 thing, you kind of figure that all out really quick.
Oh, absolutely. Matt no longer rides motorcycles anymore because of his back, and he's always been a hunter, but Matt's recreational passion is hunting, bird, big game. So, he has his activities that he does with his group of friends. And then I have a great group of people that I go ride moto with. So that does still create great dinner table conversation, but we both still push each other in the sports that, we love. And then, we've never even argued, we don't argue about financials. The only thing we've ever argued about is him being in R&D and not writing stuff down. Because he's a caveman. And it took a lot of years for me to take what was in his head and put it on paper. But to be totally honest, that is the only thing we have ever argued about.
He's a caveman. That's awesome.
Yeah, we call CAD concrete aided design.
A lot of chalk marks on the ground.
Kurt Leduc coined the phrase to us, 15 years ago. We're Imagineers. We raced a stock mini truck in Score Desert Racing, probably the most expensive class that you could race because you had to upgrade factory equipment, but you really couldn't upgrade anything. So
all you could do is add material.
Is we found weak links in vehicles, and our chase team all had Toyotas, but we raced a Nissan because Matt couldn't even afford a Toyota in his 20s. So we actually raced a Nissan truck, but the whole team that was helping us, we all drove 86 to 95 Toyotas. So that's where the very beginning of the product line comes from, is it comes from having to build some better parts for our friends who were pitting for us. And we learned a lot about original equipment, manufacturers and their suspension designs. And we did a little bit of stuff for Nissans in the beginning, but began specializing in Toyotas. And I think racing a stock mini truck and having to build parts around an OE platform, that truly paved the way for what Total Chaos is that people know today.
Right. No, that makes total sense, because your R&D is the racing. And, what I've come to realize in my 30 years on off-road is that people may not want to race, but they want to look like or be like the racers. If they can get upgraded parts and make their truck look like a race truck, they are just happy.
And they might only recreate one time a year, but if you're taking your wife who's scared to be in the middle of the desert, and that's common. I still hear it today. How do you go, you like to be out in the middle, and I absolutely love to be out in the middle of nowhere and spin 360 degrees and not see a building and not see a paved road. That is my happy place.
Right.
That is why I work so hard in the office, to earn those rewarding days in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and when you take your significant other out in that kind of a situation, you want to make sure you make it back, because they don't always understand that, stuff happens, and they don't want to be stuck out there.
100%, and if you're taking your kids too, so building reliable and dependable parts to where even if you're recreating that one time a year, you have confidence and comfort that your vehicle's not going to fail. Your wife's going to have a great time. Your kids are going to totally enjoy a day with the family. I mean, a saying here, a family that off-roads together stays together.
Right. Yep. Very true. Let's jump into Total Chaos Fabrication right now. And what would you say is your number one selling product?
The tubular uniball upper control arm, the stock length version. And not many people in this industry know that was actually an afterthought to a long travel kit that Matt designed. One of our competitors had come to market first on the 96 to 04 Tacoma long travel kit, but they designed their suspension system to be single shock. It was not four-wheel drive, and it had a ball joint upper control arm. And on our R&D vehicle, when we disassembled the factory ball joint, we realized it was maxing itself out. So we spent 5 months R&Ding Total Chaos's 96 to 04 Tacoma long travel kit, and Matt doubled down. He launched the first 3.5-inch long travel kit that retained four-wheel drive, incorporated dual 2.5 shocks, and was an upper uniball. And in the design process for that suspension system, he gets up out of bed at 2 a.m. one morning, and it's the week of Off-Road Expo. It was like 3 days before Off-Road Expo, to be honest. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I have an idea." I'm like, "Well, what are you doing? You're putting on clothes." He's all, "I'm going to the shop." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, okay. I'll see you in a couple hours." Yes. And I get to the shop at 9 that morning, and there's a stock length uniball raw upper control arm on his bench. And he goes, "What do you think?" I go, "What am I looking at?" And he goes, "We know that the ball joints are weak on this vehicle, so I needed to put something on the other side of the frame display, and I didn't want it blank. So I built a stock length tubular upper control arm. Let's see what the public thinks. And we took that part to Off-Road Expo. The long travel kit was all like magazine ready, powder coated, and front frame displays are something that we're very, it's something we roll out to all our trade show booths and events. It's a tool that we use for events. And one side was raw with the stock length suspension, and the other side was all the bling and brand new in a long travel kit. And I remember that competitor walks up to us and says, "Who the hell would buy this shit?" I'm going to leave that competitor unnamed because it became good versus evil on the long-term scheme of things in this sport. And I think that you need good competition to elevate, your innovation and your passion. That they were the next ones to build a stock length tubular upper control arm.
Right.
But that's just part of this sport. And you've heard the coined term, Rich. The highest form of flattery is imitation.
Oh, yes.
No, it's really not, but we keep telling ourselves that.
You have to in this industry.
The stock length tubular upper control arm with the Uniball revolutionized the pace. The shock manufacturers were definitely on board in that era. I feel so stoked to be part of the sport of off-road at a time where there are so many performance and advancements in a bolt-on space. I mean, look at shock technology just in the last decade. Look at your Raptor that you get to drive.
Yep.
It's wild what even a vehicle off the lot now is capable of.
Very true. And it's my Raptor's enhanced by those Total Chaos fabrication tubular arms.
Yeah, that is the one product that we offer for every domestic vehicle application in the lighter version of the trucks. Like, we don't do Dodge 2500s, but we do Dodge, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, Nissan. What am I missing? I know I'm missing a couple, but yeah, GMC, right. It's a performance part that can truly just enhance the ride quality, and it will enhance the ride quality when combined with a really good performance aftermarket shock, for sure.
Agree. Absolutely agree. So let's talk about your off-roading racing career. You've done a number of things, not just on two wheels, and talk about how all that got started.
In the very beginning, I actually didn't race at all. I managed the marketing program for Dan Vance, who was a very iconic driver that we sponsored for about 12 years. He put Total Chaos on the map. He let us focus on building a brand, and he funded a majority of his race program, but I found pure enjoyment reverting back to my sports marketing and working with manufacturers in the industry and helping him with sponsors. And in order for Matt to focus again on building the company, we had to sell his Nissan. So Dan was the face of the company for a while, and I broke my back in 2009 in a motocross accident, and I spent 2 months staring at a ceiling fan. And Matt asked me to hang up the handlebars and the boots, that the sport was too dangerous. And I told him if he built a race truck and let me race with him, that I would no longer ride a dirt bike. And I think that was still in ICU. I want to make this clear. Because shortly after, I want to say it was the first week, I was at home having tears in my eyes, saying to Matt, please don't tell me to not ride dirt bikes again. I know this is crazy, but I can't wait to ride my motorcycle already. And this is like the first week. And I think this is the athlete mindset that I was luckily born with. because that recovery was long and difficult. It was a long 3 months just to even kind of get back to the shop and get moving. And Matt completed the race truck to race Vegas to Reno, and we split driving duties. But yeah, so that's basically how the desert racing portion of it started. They had given me the opportunity to race Powder Puff for 3 years, and I went to Barstow and took 3 first place finishes, and that was rad. I wanted kind of something after that, so it seemed like Best in the Desert was, we like the long distance stuff. It's really endurance, it's really physical. If you're going to spend that much money to race, you might as well go for the big dog. So every Vegas to Reno that we've entered, we've finished. Matt has a very meticulous mind, and so does the team that we surround ourselves with here. We are an extremely organized, well-tuned group of people. And, being able to say that you have finished every race that you've entered and you do not have a DNF is probably something not a lot of people know about.
Wow.
But it's something we pride ourselves on. Oh, no, I take that back. I have 1 DNF, Battle at Prim. Jesse Combs and I rolled Little T when the steering rack seal failed. I do take that back. There's 1 DNF on Little T.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
but that was out of our, it was just a component failure.
Right. Out of your control.
And those do happen. I mean, if you're racing and you can't admit that you've had a component failure, unfortunately in this sport, what we do, the speeds we run, the environments that we brutally punish these parts in, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and sometimes, it just happens. But yeah, that was one of the biggest crashes that I've ever had.
So when you were injured and you said, "Build me a truck, let me race," and you went and did Vegas to Reno, that was the first race after being injured?
No, a Powder Puff. They put me in Powder Puff first to make me prove myself.
And how long a time was that between the accident and the race?
9 to 13. 2015 is when I finally get the opportunity to race in the desert with Matt.
So quite a few years, but you.
But I had done Powder Puff 3 years prior to that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like 4 years. I was back on the motorcycle in 8 months.
But not racing?
No, not racing the trucks. Most of my seat time, a lot of people don't know, we're rooted with a crew called Locos Mocos. We fix stuff for free. And it was just a band of brothers scattered all over the United States, just a group of people that wanted to go down to Mexico every San Felipe 250, 500, and Baja 1000, and we'd pre-run for between 5 and 10 days. And then we'd go set up in the most gnarly remote location on the race course map, and we would run free pit service. And we have wrenched on Herbst, Ragland, in the pits. We have had 11 cars, motorcycle riders, you name it. We eventually got subcontracted by Baja Pits for a period of years where we would fuel up to about 120 teams in certain locations. One of the most popular pits being at Cohobuzo Junction at the base of the summit on the lake bed. But great times. So a lot of my driving and experience, actually, Matt does not travel south of the border, so he would send me south to Mexico with the guys, and they would just let me go full stupid down south of the border. And I luckily, when you're down in Mexico, man, you really don't want anything to break. So you just learn to keep your equipment together. I think racing stock mini, that was the biggest lesson to come from competing in that class is we were so broke that we'd have to drive our race truck to go race and then drive our race truck home. We couldn't even afford a trailer. I mean, that is how Total Chaos started.
Right.
It was top ramen, macaroni and cheese, and every paycheck going into getting to the next race 6 weeks later, man. It was awesome days of the early 20s.
That's awesome. That builds character.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes you appreciate a lot of the amenities that, when people see us today, they have this perception that it's this huge footprint of a company. People always show up. You build all this here at that little building? Yep, that little building. Those few people. And yeah, I mean, we want to be efficient, we lean, and we want to do everything right the first time. It's a hard path to forge, but once you kind of get the ball in motion, I mean, there's 5 of us that are going to spend 19 years together this year. And wow. I don't know a lot of companies in the sport of off-road that could say that.
That's for sure. So then, did you ever get back into racing motorcycles?
I did. My bucket list, I have this funny thing called the Chaos bucket list, and there's a lot of people writing it right now. Many people by the way. And yes, I started racing Mammoth Motocross. Elsinore Grand Prix was on a bucket list. And then World Vets became this target of mine because it's the infamous Glen Helen outdoor motocross track. And I mean, nothing gets gnarlier than Glen Helen with its braking pumps and Mount St. Helen. And man, it's awesome. So yeah, I do some local SRA events. I love my 2 wheels and I love putting on my helmet. I just did a dual sport ride with Jimmy Lewis and Heather Lewis. Jimmy tortured Heather and I on a 100-mile Nevada sesh. That was pretty wild. We left Jimmy's shop and he says, it's not a Jimmy Lewis ride unless we run out of gas, run out of daylight, or run out of energy. And we ran out of all 3. So it was awesome. But it was Heather's first day back after 2 complete knee replacements. And I helped motivate her for the last year on working out and staying disciplined to getting back to her sport. I know how impactful it could be to keep somebody motivated. Right. And I promised her I wanted to be on one of her rides first day back. And I bombed up there, and it was worth every minute of it. It was a Jimmy Lewis torture test, though, Rich, let me tell you.
Yeah, Jimmy's a master. And
absolutely. After the desert racing opportunities with Matt, I really wanted something different, and that's how I meet Emily Miller. And I actually took Morocco Taco to Africa and competed in a rally in Morocco. And it was a women's navigational rally. And the first year I went with Jessie Combs. And then the second year I went with Chrissy Beavis from the Rebel.
And this was all pre-Rebel.
Yeah.
All before the Rebel. And
the
did
year
you...
Chrissy and I compete is the I think Emily's first year, 2016, if I'm correct. Yeah, 2016. So I remember being in Spain where we were shipping the car home from and having some phone calls with Emily. And we had already started kind of laying out the course for the first year. And yeah, and that's kind of what I find complete Stoke in now is scouting the rally with her and being really present in Mother Nature and trusting the Total Chaos equipment, and just going out and helping her put everything together to build her game each year.
Right. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. How did you meet Jessie Combs?
Jessie Combs at an off-road expo, I think. How did I meet Jessie? Jessie and Ian came by our booth at an off-road expo way back in the beginning days of Off-Road Expo. And we just kind of connected and stayed in touch. And she's like, hey, if you ever want to go racing, hit me up. And I had raced Powder Puff with my Baja mentor's wife. And then when Matt gave me the green light to go race against the boys for Battle at Prim, I asked Jesse. Actually, Jesse was going to race Powder Puff with me, and it was the year the government had the shutdown, and they weren't given their permits. So we had been testing to compete in Powder Puff together for my 4th year, and they canceled it, and I talked Matt into letting me go race the Snore Battle at Prim. So that was the first time he raced with me. We were running 5th place out of 80 guys in a pump gas.
Nice.
Door banger.
And that shutdown was
really good.
That shutdown, was that because of the accident at that California 200?
No. Wow, you know about the accident?
Yeah.
No, that was the government shutdown that almost just happened this year with the Rebel
budget
permits,
one.
where the government shut down, and they weren't going to send BLM, they pulled everyone, even from government land, any competition recreation use type permitting.
Yeah, that was over the budget fight. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And then so you met at Off-Road Expo. That was back in that day they had, back when they had the TV show then, if they were hanging out together.
So we meet in 2010. We go compete at Battle at Prim in 2014. And then I remember driving down the grade to State Line in my RV with Jessie. And she looks over at me and she's like, hey, man, there's this crazy all-women's rally in Africa. You want to go do it? And I'm like, when is it? And she's all, March. And this is, February. And I'm like, dude, we can't go do it. I don't know. And all women's? That sounds horrible, was honestly the first thing I said to her. Fast forward to that November, and we're building a program to actually go compete in it in 2015.
That's awesome. She did things on the whim, didn't she?
Yes, she was a complete free spirit, 100%.
Yes. And then you met Emily after you raced in 215 in Morocco then, right?
No, I wound up meeting Emily that September. So my sister-in-law unexpectedly died from a brain aneurysm in 2014, and that was when I knew I really, life is short. She was 2 years younger than I was, and I needed to get out of my comfort zone. We had been purring along at Total Chaos for about a decade at that time, and ever since I was a kid, Africa had been a country that really intrigued me. So in September, I am contacted by another woman who wanted me to actually do the Gazelle on a motorcycle, and as I began researching it, I was like, dude, this is gnarly to even take the step to attempt to go compete, and this is not cheap, but there's no way I'm doing it on a motorcycle. That's double down. Anyone that's done it on a motorcycle is a true badass. I hope I could say that.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's when I reach out to Jessie and I'm like, hey, I've done some research on that competition. I'd be down, if you want to make this happen, let's do this. And and we pulled it off.
And you guys, what was how did you guys finish up?
We were the highest ranking USA team that year, and we were 10th overall out of about 100 teams, and the highest ranking rookies to compete.
Very good. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, she was great in the navigation seat. I think all of her fabrication skills, she was able to put all that mathematics and navigation to the map. She did great.
And then you guys get back from there, and then you raced with Chrissy as well?
I went back the following year. I had gotten the bug for Africa, and I knew, like any competition, the first time you do it, you're kind of learning the paces and how to play the game. And I knew that I wanted to aim for a podium. And Chrissy was a hired gun. She was one of the best navigators for the U.S. at the time. And we began chatting immediately upon return, and I put together a program for us to go compete in 2016. And we sent the Tacoma back over there. And from the very beginning, we battled for first and second place the entire rally. And we wound up finishing second place, highest ranking all U.S. team to ever compete in the competition.
Very good.
So that was freaking awesome.
And then that's around the time that you met Emily.
Yeah, so I had met Emily, and I knew of Emily in college. One of my senior classes, I was flipping through an off-road magazine in the back of Technologies Operations Management class, and they were doing the Vegas to Reno 2000, and Emily's picture was in there. And then us, coming from a stock mini competition, she raced stock full with Rod Hall, so you knew drivers' names, and you'd see them at contingency or see their pit team at different random pits. So I had known of Emily's racing career in the early 2000s. She trained us to go compete in 2015, and we kind of stayed in touch. We started going to the beach. She surfed, I bodyboarded, we'd connect, we'd go mountain bike riding, kind of do like just fun, non-race related stuff. But we honestly began scouting. I don't think a lot of people know it. It was February of 2016 together. I had been at one of her very first business meetings in August of 2015 that transpired. The thought and the concept of the rally were going down, and I think she just saw the passion that I have for the sport of off-road. And I mean, I really like to have fun in life, no bad days. I mean, we've all got them, don't get me wrong,
right.
But laughter is God's greatest medicine. And I really like to have fun, and I think that made it easy for Emily to pick up a phone like, hey, you want to go to the desert? Yeah, I'm down. Let's go. And then it just kind of clicked from there. I actually met with her yesterday and have already begun the discussions of what's gonna transpire for 2024. So it's good
Cool.
stuff. Good stuff.
Excellent. So then with the racing and then coming into the Rebelle, you've been a marketing partner of the Rebelle from day one, and staff. I like the story of Shelley and I getting involved with the Rebelle. She had been following it on social media that this thing was coming up, and then when signups finally opened up, she went to the internet, and was reading all about it, and decided that even though she did a lot of off-roading, she never drove. She always left that to me. And navigation wasn't necessarily something that comes very natural to her. She could probably, it took her quite a few months to get used to all the back roads here in Placerville, California, because it's not a grid system. So she was like confused when it comes to navigation. So she was like, well, darn, how do I get involved with this? And so she goes, Rich, you know Emily, right? And I said, yeah. She goes, can you call her and see if she needs volunteers? I said, sure, sounds great. And of course, Emily was like, "You do that, really?" And it was like, "Well, yeah." So we've been on staff from the very beginning, and have thoroughly enjoyed the event. But your participation in it has been one of those founding moments, I think.
I love hearing the story of how you guys got involved, because it's a true organism. It's much greater than a competition. And to be honest, upon my second return from Africa, the life lessons, the confidence, the growth, the personal growth that I had, that I was able to apply to my career, the decision making processes, the just trusting your gut to be okay with a decision and just move on. You know, being a woman in this industry, I've never looked at it that as being something that was a challenge. I just do a job, to be honest. But competing without my boys around, that scared the shit out of me. It really did. I wanted to go halfway around the world, and I'd always relied on my Locos Mocos crew or having Matt and Mikey around. And I needed to remove myself from my comfort zone when Kristen died. And I did that. And the impact that it had on me personally, we were luckily in a position to help support what Emily believed she could build here in the United States. And I knew hands there, from being so passionate about all motorsports, from a motorsports standpoint, the fact that this is curated for women and traverses some of the most epic terrain that the Southwest can offer, our company had to be involved. It's kind of like philanthropy in a nutshell. Giving back to my community. We all do it in different ways, but this is the way that I've chosen to give back to moms, daughters, just chicks in general.
Right. I love the event because there's so many things, but the basic core of it is watching these women that are competing and watching them have success on their own. And not that they don't have that in their normal life, but like you said, in their normal life, you know, they've got husbands or boyfriends or, you know, significant others that are there as support, where out on the Rebelle, it's them and their partner. And then there's, you know, the staff support, but it's not the same as you have in regular life. And watching those ladies develop that ability to manage everything on their own is awesome.
The sense of independence and self-confidence, hands down, is so badass. It makes it easy each year.
Agreed. So you just had one of your bucket list items that you knocked off, and that was motorcycles riding. You were at Glen Helen, right? That's what did you call it?
Yeah, World Vets was on my bucket list.
And how'd that go for you?
Well, I didn't suck too bad. I think I took fourth or fifth. Steffi Layer, a European phenom. I mean, this chick just rips. She was over riding on a Mike Brown KTM. I had some fast ex-woman pros dropping the gate with me. I took fifth on Saturday. It was a 3-moto format. I took 3 fifths and then a fourth in my third moto. You know, any day you walk away from the track and you're dropping gates like you do in that sport, There's no bad days. The fact that I'm still riding a motorcycle at 48 years old brings so much joy to my soul. It's a sport right now that I still wake up, and you would think I'm 8 years old. It just puts the biggest smile on my face to still put on a helmet and fire up the bike and go be a free spirit and spin some laps or even trail ride. I absolutely love the sport.
That's awesome. And so how many more things do you have on that bucket list?
So it's funny you bring that up. The first week of every year in this company, this started in 2007. It is company policy that every person within this organization writes down a minimum of 5 personal and 5 professional goals that they want to accomplish in that year. And they put it in an envelope and you seal it. And every year, this is a project that I do. If you're employed here, you participate in the project, and if you don't, I wouldn't know. You can put a blank piece of paper. You probably don't have long-term employment here, though, because I don't hang around with people that aren't motivated, inspired, and driven every day. And this is kind of like it's the subliminal procrastination list. If you're procrastinating on something, you're writing it down. But we do it every year. So just Saturday, I wrote down my 2024 bucket list, and it's got 23 things that I want to, that I aspire to accomplish this year in some way, shape, or form. Some are work-related, some are personal, certain athletic-related, but yeah. And I'm staring at 3 bucket lists from 3 employees. The deadline is Wednesday, end of day. And every year I find it, I'm inspired to ask between 2 and 4 new people to join a blind carbon copied list. And I will never disclose who they are, but you would be amazed how many people are on your Rebel Rally that participate in this project. We call it the Chaos Bucket List. It's kind of goofy. I'll reach out to everybody in October and ask them to open their envelopes. I used to wait till December, but the one thing I realized after doing it as long as I have is I think it's important to open it before the end of year and leave yourself 2 or 3 months to potentially accomplish something that you might have gotten distracted on because of personal in life, or you never know. So yeah, we open them now in October, and I ask everybody to keep them every year. So basically I have a snapshot of my personal goals from 2007 through this year that all get nestled in this really thick envelope now. But it is awesome to see the personal growth, the professional growth, all of these accomplishments that I've nailed. I think it's a phenomenal project, and maybe talking about it on a podcast can inspire some people.
That's great. I know Shelley does a list like that. I don't create a list. I just take every opportunity to go out and try to do something. You know, it's I don't know why I don't set goals.
There are some people that don't, and I don't believe it's a bad thing. For some people that are like me, I'm very metrics driven, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's inspiring. I'm really stoked on the 4 people that have been added to the list this year. It's pretty rad. 2 of them are from the rally. They're actually competitors, so I think that's awesome.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. It's kind of a goofy project, but I've even got a couple friends' kids doing it. I wish someone would have inspired me earlier in my lifetime to do something like this, because it's what I find so fascinating is my change of what makes me tick in certain time periods of my life. I mean, I have lists pre-broken back, post-broken back. I've had 3 knee surgeries. I have a plated wrist. All are bucket list time zones where, you know, I've spent a lot of time mentally staying strong to recover from crashes and sports related ailments, and I'm super motivated to get back and do what I love.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always been the wandering soul. I have a hard time staying in one place and doing one thing for years, or even for months at a time. So it's I wouldn't say that I move with the wind, but that's probably not a bad
It's
definition.
a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You're a complete free spirit. You don't want to be chained to anything, and you want to leave yourself the freedom to take advantage of any opportunity that presents itself and gives you the opportunity to be stoked. And we need, you guys are the yang to my metrics driven yin.
Right.
You know, you need to have kind of both those personalities.
And that's Shelley and I. You know, she's
absolutely. I know that you're smiling
very
faces
listed.
every year. You know, as the rally concludes and I finally see you guys at the end, it's such a joy, you know, to see the people that continue to show up every year and support Emily's vision and truly make it what it is, especially to the competitors.
Right. Yep. It's that if we can make a difference and change somebody's life, that's in any part of our own life, that's important. You know, it's
absolutely
the one thing that I learned when I became an off-road event promoter was, you know, it allowed me to keep moving, go to different places, do something different basically every day, even though it may be the same thing but in different locations, or the planning was different even though it was going to be doing the same thing. And it was, you know, that was always a comfort to me compared to the corporate jobs that I had where I had to show up and work 9 to 5 or whatever the hours were, and to do the same monotonous tasks over and over and over. I couldn't deal with that stuff. And that's why I never had a job or did anything like that, my own businesses included, for more than 5 years. I would just get, I don't know if it was bored, but I would get stagnant and just, I had to go do something else. And when I found the off-road events, then it was like, okay, now I found something that keeps me interested.
The pace of how you have to perform to be an event promoter is awe-inspiring to me. I mean, I have witnessed hundreds of hours behind the scenes of truly what it takes for Emily to put on this event. And there is no other Emily Miller for the sport of off-road. Truly, it is the dynamics of this particular competition is unbelievable.
I agree.
She is 100% committed to the success of these women and the rally and ensuring that it stays going.
Yep.
It's inspiring.
So what's on the horizon for Total Chaos?
Woo! We got Toyota's been good to us in the last 2 years. We've got a 2024 Tacoma that's supposed to drop here from corporate, so we'll definitely be getting our hands on one of those. We're looking forward to designing some new products for it. Let a little cat out of the bag. I wouldn't be surprised if you see it competing in the Rebel Rally in 2024.
Very nice.
Personally, the bucket list is filled with some rad stuff. I just I want to keep this machine going. There's been a lot of changes in our space of this industry with mergers and acquisitions. And we have chosen to take a path of remaining a small business that is self-funded. We're not looking for assistance. We don't need assistance. We want to remain our own bosses. But I think that's going to definitely, you're going to see a lot of changes in this space in the next couple years.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I just want to keep a solid team. I want to keep sharing the Stoke for the sport of off-road. We've got some chaos games trips planned where we're going to go get some content, and we want to go back to our roots where we get together as a team and just go explore and go run our own stuff and just, go spend time together. We've all kind of gotten caught up in the go and the calendar schedule and the events and so many things that are part of what we do on our day-to-day operations that I'd like to pump the brakes a little bit this year and use it as a tick of a rebuild year internally to keep the passion and keep the Stoke alive. I mean, as long as we continue to stay motivated and people are pumped on our parts, we're going to keep building good stuff.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. And congratulations on making that decision and being able to do that and staying out of that corporate web. I understand when business owners go that direction. The mindset nowadays is build it, sell it. But I've always been one of those that, build it, run it till you can't. And I'm glad to see that you guys are staying family.
Oh, we call ourselves renegades. You can hear the conversation regularly at the microwave. We consider ourselves unemployable, but the vibe and the energy within this organization across all 10,000 square feet, from the fabricators to the front sales line to the creatives, we all love being our own bosses. We love making our own decisions. It's way harder to take this path, but we're still enjoying the ride. And as long as it's fun, we're not for sale and we're not on the market.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for spending the time with us and sharing your life history and some of the things that people didn't know, and sharing your dreams with us, because that's important for everybody. Those that dream inspire others.
100%. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this, and I look forward to seeing you in the dirt.
All right, sounds good. You have a great day.
You too.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.